Kelpieone here on Stainedglasscuts. In my last video, making the wheelmobile, I came up with the idea of making a weave pattern of fused, transparent stained glass inside a ring of glass. And here's the result. There are many beautiful examples of woven stained glass. They involve 3 steps: slumping strips of glass into a weave mold, weaving them together, and then fusing all the pieces together, usually tack fusing. Most examples of this method end up on a table or on a wall. That's not what I'm going to show you how to do today. The process I'll be showing you still involves 2 complete firings and uses a technique I've been calling twice cooked glass. The result will appear woven, but will have no overlapping pieces of different colors. Because there are no overlapping pieces, this technique can produce designs that use transparent glass, appear woven, and lend themselves to being sun catchers. So here we go. Here's the pattern I'm going to be making. I've pre-cut these 1/2-inch strips of glass from scrap pieces. These will be fired once to create the rods I'll use for the weave. I've yet to determine how I'll make the black frame, so I'll do some testing. Here I have 2 pieces at a 45-degree angle and slightly beveled edge so that I could put a piece of black stringer to help in their joining. For this one, I've overlapped 4 pieces of glass to see what kind of a corner that might make. And for these tests, I'm going to experiment with placing my glass rod in between, but protruding slightly, and then I'll have little pieces of clear stringer to join it. What I'm hoping will happen here is that it'll give the impression that the glass rods are wrapped around the frame. And here, I've just got 2 pieces. I want to see what happens when they're fired the first time in the kiln. And last, for another idea I have, I just wanted to see what happens when you butt the end of one glass rod against another. Again, a piece of clear stringer will be added. All the glass I'm using has a 96 coefficient of expansion, or COE, so let's get all this in the kiln and see where we end up. And here are the results. These 2 pieces behaved as I expected. For the look of the frame I want, I like the double layer with the overlap the best. As for making it look like the glass rods are wrapped around the frame, I like the single layer the best. However, I won't be using it in this design because, as you'll see, there are just too many connection points. And yes, you can butt 2 pieces of rod together and fuse them. So, we have the frame design we want, but how big shall we make it? To determine how large we want the frame, I've cut some of the 1-inch rod pieces that we'll be using. From my pattern, I'll lay them out where I'm using whole length rods, 5 of them, and 4 crossing rods. Because of my inability to cut perfect 1-inch pieces, I've aligned the 10 yellow pieces in order of size. I'll now lay out 2 patterns, one with the smaller pieces and one with the larger ones. What this is going to show us is what kind of variance we might expect at a maximum. So first the small one, and then the larger one. It might not seem like a lot of variance, but it would be enough that we might end up making the frame too big, and that means we'd have to go remake it. So I'll push them up snug against each other, and we'll take a measurement. For the little ones, I'm looking at, probably about 7 1/8 inches. And for the larger one, 7 1/4. I'll use the smaller length because I can always grind down pieces to get them to fit, or mix them up to go a little bigger. So the size of the 8 pieces we'll use to build a frame are 3/4 inches wide by 7 1/8 inch long. And here's our result. It's too small. And here's why. When the stacked 3/4 inch pieces of glass melted, I didn't consider that they'd spread out. Basically a 1/16 of an inch in each direction. This resulted in the loss of 1/8 of an inch inside the frame. I also didn't consider that my glass rods might vary in width. They do, by as much as a 32nd of an inch. So I made another frame and increased the length of the glass by 1/4 of an inch to 7 3/8 inches. Here's how I cut the pieces of rod. First, I tried making a score on the very top of the curve, continuing it down the side of the piece of glass. Unfortunately, this often produced an uneven break. Uneven breaks cause problems in the rod lengths after grinding the end square. The more you grind them, the shorter they get, sometimes by almost 1/8 of an inch. Finally, the best method I found for making the pieces was to make a very small score on the very top of the arc. And then, using a square edge like a tabletop to accomplish the break. This produced a very even square end that required very little grinding. And this produced more uniformity in the lengths of the rod. I tried to accomplish the break using my running pliers, but the pieces tended to pop out, and also they produced an uneven break. So here we are. And even with adjusting the size of the frame, it took me a fair amount of time to lay out all the pieces to achieve the best fit. So, 99 pieces of glass inside the frame. I'll add a piece of clear stringer, 1/2 inch piece, to each of the connection points to aid in the fusing. Yes, I did the math, 198 pieces of stringer to be placed. I'm beginning to think I should have made the design a little more open, fewer pieces, bigger holes, just plain simpler. And I'm not even sure what will happen with this one in the kiln. Will there even be any holes left? I guess we're going to find out. Now, all I have to do is maintain the exact order of the pieces as I clean them, and maintain the exact order of the pieces as I transfer them to the kiln, and add 198 pieces of stringer. No problem. Ah! And here we are. Woven glass. I couldn't have asked for a better outcome. And it's much easier to accomplish if you don't put it in a frame. Please consider liking and subscribing, and thanks for watching. Cheers!